welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we have another episode of Makeup Mondays, and we are talking about cream eyeshadows. So this is my cream eyeshadow roundup. So for this video, we are talking just about cream eyeshadows. We are not using liquids or like crayons or any of those. So just the creams, they come in the pots. So let's go ahead and we're going to start off with swatching. First, let's take a look at the Westman Atelier iPods. And these come in a set of 3 and they're magnetic. These are the cutest containers. I love the packaging on these and they're really easy to travel with, and this unscrews and then you can get this little clip here. So this is the product, and when you're done with these, you can actually reuse these containers. And Westman Atelier, or Gucci Westman, she put up a little video, showing like ways to reuse these containers. One of them, which I really liked, was cleaning them out or removing the pan and using it to carry like your jewelry when you're traveling. So this is the shade Chocolat, and you can see here that these are going to be a drier cream formula. So if you look at it on my finger here, so it's thin and it goes on. There's a little bit more resistance when you pull this one across your eye. And these are meant to be super easy to use, put on with your finger, wear and go, smudge it out if you want. Next, let's take a look at the Rituel de Fille. This is one of the Ashen Ember eye soots, and this is the shade Cultist. Now, to be fair, I have heard that this shade in particular is drier than others, but you can see it's got a little bit more of a crumbly texture. I love the actual color of it. You can see that you've got the brown underneath. It's like a brown base, and then where you built it up, you have some gray. Now, as I mentioned, the texture of this one is a little bit drier and more crumbly than the others today. Next, let's take a look at the Victoria Beckham. These are the lid lusters, and this is the shade Mink. So you have a tortoiseshell cap here. This is a glass jar, and you do have a protector on here. And again, this one is going to be kind of in between, it's a moist, thin cream product, and it's going to be similar to Cultist in shade, meaning that it's got that brown base, but you can see it's definitely more taupey, more gray piled on top. And these have quite a bit of shimmer, and I've noticed different shades in this line. Some of them feel a little differently than others, and I particularly really like this Mink shade. It just goes on well. I haven't had any major issues with fallout. You will get a little bit if you're like using, like, let's say a pencil brush and you're using little strokes. You'll probably get some fallout from that. But for me, nothing major when applying it to the lid. Now, another one that is one of these drier cream products as well, this is the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color in Triton. So they have matte shades and they also have shimmer shades. So this is a shimmery one, and I really love this shade. Again, it's going to be a drier product. It feels more similarly to the Westman Atelier iPods. And then we have Jones Road. These are the Just a Sec eyeshadows, and this one here is called Pewter. This is going to be a thin, it's more of a wash of color. You can see that these are more sheer and they are sparkly. And this one has more of a silicone texture to it. So even though it's very thin, it doesn't really have that much drag on your skin. And then this is the Surratt Prismatic Eyes. This is the shade Glamorize. So this is actually a duo. So you can unscrew the top and you get to the cream, and then this swings out to get to a powder topper. So this one here, you can see mine's drying up a little bit. I got this from Sephora. I think it was older stock, but you can see that this is going to be a little bit more sheer as well. And with this particular one, you again feel more of that silicone texture. There's really no drag going on, but if you want to build up the color, you really kind of have to tap that on and pile that on. Now, one thing I'd like to note about these is I don't know if the cream is actually recommended to use on its own. You of course can, but it performs better when you use the powder topper. And moving on to another one of these duos. So this is the Tom Ford Eye Duo. This one is Fleur Neige from the holidays a few years ago. And this is the one I have eye swatches of. You can see that mine's drying up a little bit, but it is actually a very moussey, creamy texture. And even though mine's drying up, it's by no means dry. So this one has more of a moussey texture and it's very pillowy to touch. Now, unlike the Surratt, this cream on the bottom performs very much so like the Tom Ford cream color eyes. This is Platinum, number 1. And this one's newer and fresher. So I'm not sure if texturally they are the same, but you can see how wet and moussey this is. I don't remember my duo ever being that moist, but perhaps it was. And, you know, both of these, they're similar in color, but you can see that the Fleur Neige one has a little bit more coolness to it than Platinum, but they go on very nicely and both creams can be worn on their own. Now, again, the Tom Ford also comes with a little protector on top. Definitely save them if you remember to. I don't always remember to. And real quickly, this is the Black Duo. So this is a new one. You can see how creamy this is. So my Fleur Neige was probably like this in the beginning. I just honestly don't remember it being that creamy. But based on Platinum and the one in the Black Sand, I would say that these creams are the same formula. Similar in formula to the Tom Ford creams are the Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the shade Oyster Pearl. So you can see how soft and moussey and pillowy this one is as well. So this is pretty comparable. And then we have First Light from Supergoop. This one actually has SPF, I think SPF 15 or 30, I don't know, but it has SPF in it. And this also has that moussey pillowy texture to it. They have limited shades though in this. So for me with this one, I like to use this and then usually put on, you know, another shadow with it. This is going to be a soft gold, which just for my coloring, I typically don't wear on its own. And then we also have the Hourglass Scatter Light, and this is the shade Vivid. Again, we have a protector here. And this one is going to be a thinner, silky formula. And you've got lots and lots of sparkle in here. Now, texturally, the Hourglass feels most like the Jones Road, just a sec. They both have kind of that smooth silicone texture going onto the lid. So even though it's a thinner formula than many of these other cream products, it goes on very smoothly and there's really no tugging on it. I'm going to go ahead and share my thoughts on each of these shadows as I show you some eye swatches. And these are not in any sort of particular order. So starting with the Westman Atelier iPods, I really love the packaging on these, but unfortunately the performance of these it's just not something I enjoy. A lot of people absolutely love this product and, you know, in concept, I really like the idea of it. But for me, these crease very quickly on me and it's not one of those shadows that I feel like looks that great creased. So, you know, you can always tap out the crease, but for me, it's too high maintenance. I don't particularly care for the formulas and the shades that she has come out with so far. You know, there are some that I like, but overall the undertones run a little bit too warm. The Ritual Defeat Ash and Ember Eye Soot. I only have this particular shade in the Eye Soot, and then I also have one of the like sheer glossy shine products that creases immediately. This one actually creases on me as well pretty quickly. And the Ash and Ember Eye Soots are not supposed to crease, or at least not quickly. And I have heard from other people that they don't have creasing issues, and some people have said that it's just this particular shade. So I haven't tried any more to know if that's true or not, but I personally just don't really care for this product too much because it's very crumbly, and when I'm applying it either with fingers or a brush, I can actually feel the particles falling on my face, and it feels a little gritty. I also don't care for the packaging on these because it is a narrow space to get your finger in or a brush. And it's obviously not hard when it's full, but when you're getting down to the bottom, I imagine that it'll be pretty difficult to get your finger down there and kind of get all of the product up. The Jones Road Just a Sec eyeshadows, these are meant to be a sheer wash of colors. So they're not exactly the same as all of these other cream eyeshadows that we're talking about today. You can obviously use these as a one and done, but a lot of times these are meant to be used more as a topper product. And I have to say, I really like the formula of these, and I like the color selection that they've come out with so far. This is definitely just like a nice product to have around and to kind of add into an eye look. So I really like these, but I don't really classify them so much in the same category. I classify these more as a topper. Moving on to the Victoria Beckham lid lusters, I really like the lid lusters. And as I mentioned during the swatches, different shades do perform slightly differently on me. They all last, they all hold up, they all perform, but it's more like texturally. Some of them feel a little bit drier or more creamier than others. And overall, though, I have liked all of the ones I have tried. You can get fallout with these, not to the extent of the Rituel de Fille, but a lot of it's going to depend on how you actually apply it. But overall, I really like the colors. I like the performance of these, and these last pretty much all day on me, and I'm enjoying them. The Hourglass Scattered Lights. This was the first one I ever picked up, and I really like this one. It has a thin formula, lots of sparkle, and it doesn't budge. It stays all day on me, and I really like these. So I would definitely be interested in more shades for these, and I think they're a great product. Next, we have the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color, and I am showing you the shade Triton, which is one of the shimmer shades. Again, they also have matte shades as well, and I like them. I have quite a few of these. These do have a drier formula, and so you kind of want to, for me, I like to tap these on and apply it with my finger to build up the color, but I often use a blending brush to get like in the crease and so forth. But these are definitely like a summer staple for me. I tend to reach for these a lot during the summer. These also work well as a base coat. Now, these aren't going to last all, as long as a powder shadow all day, but I can typically get a full day's worth of wear out of these without any creasing. The Super Goop is SPF 30, and these are called shimmer shades. This is the shade First Light, which is really a soft gold, and I really like the texture of these. I enjoy wearing these a lot during the summer if I'm going to be outside and I want to wear makeup. I like to, it gives a little bit of SPF protection to my eyes. And as we know, you don't really put sunscreen on your eyes. So I feel comfortable using this in situations like that. And that was my main purpose for purchasing these, but I ended up really liking the formula as well. I wish they would expand their shade range because the other shades don't really appeal to me. I think there are only 2 other shades at this time, but this works great. And I often use this as an eye base during the summertime. The Surratt Prismatic Eyes, as I mentioned during the swatches, I don't think that this cream really performs that well on its own. I think it is meant to be used with a powder topper. This cream on its own, it is very difficult to get a uniform wash of color. You can definitely sheer it out, but if you want to build up the color, it's a little bit harder to get it uniform. And it really acts more as a nice base for something more shiny and sparkly like the powder topper. So for me, I kind of don't classify this with the rest of them, but I did have some requests to include it in this video. So I personally would not recommend wearing the cream portion of this on its own, but it's a great product if you're looking for a duo. And moving on to Charlotte Tilbury. Again, these were also relatively new to me. I picked these up specifically for this video, like the Hourglass, and I actually really like these. I was always kind of put off because I'm not the biggest Charlotte Tilbury fan. A lot of her products have not worked out well for me, but these are probably my favorite Charlotte Tilbury product. And I think they are great. And I do find them to be very comparable to the Tom Ford cream products. So they both have a similar texture, and wear and everything is pretty similar on these. I do feel like these are slightly more moist than the Tom Ford. The Tom Ford feels more like a gel pillow cushion, whereas this feels more like a moist cream cushion, if that makes sense. So there is a slight difference in texture, but they're the most similar out of these collections. Moving on to the Tom Ford in the cream color for eyes. This is the shade Platinum. And again, this is going to be a gel pillowy texture. It's very soft and easy to go on. It holds up well throughout the day, very easy to blend out. You can put this on with a finger or a brush. Because of its kind of moussey texture, I typically prefer a brush to kind of make sure everything is nicely dispersed on my lid, but I really, really enjoy these. Similarly to the other Tom Ford shadow, this is the duo in number 11 Fleur Neige. This one here is drying up a little bit, but I really like it. Even though it is more dry than when I purchased it, it is still a moist cream product. It just is a little bit stiffer, which also makes it a little bit easier to put on with a finger application. So this one I can definitely do with finger application or a brush. And this one does come with a powder topper like the Surratt. However, I do feel that this cream can be worn on its own with no adverse effects and definitely no issues with uniformity either. So I hope all of these comparisons were helpful between the different formulas of these particular cream products. And I have to say that I really love cream eyeshadows. I particularly wear them during the warmer months. That's really when I like to go for like those easier one and done looks. Some of my favorite one and done products are cream eyeshadows. Whenever I don't really feel like putting on makeup, a cream eyeshadow is definitely what I reach for. Now, as I mentioned, I definitely have quite a few cream products here that I really, really love and enjoy. I also have a few that I don't really care for. But if I had to pick one favorite, I would have to give it to the Tom Ford formula. It is my favorite. And as I mentioned, the Charlotte Tilbury one is very similar. So that would be a close second. However, the Tom Ford undertones of the shades that I have work slightly better for me than the Charlotte Tilbury. And I've actually purchased a few of the Charlotte Tilburys now. I really like them. So definitely they're both great products, but I have to put the Tom Ford just slightly above. There's just something about it being more of a gel texture versus like a moisture texture that just I kind of prefer. So very, very close call between those, but that would be my number one. Next up for opaque cream shadows, and again, I'm going to leave the Jones Road out of here and the Surratt out of this as well, just because I feel like the Surratt, it works much better with the powder on top, and I consider the Jones Road to be more of a topper. So I'm excluding those. So next on my list after Tom Ford and Charlotte Tilbury, then I would pick the Hourglass and then the Victoria Beckham. So I really love these. I really love the colors of the Victoria Beckham, and I love how, especially with the mink shade, you can see that brown if you want to kind of buff that out. But if you have it piled up, you get more of the gray. So the mink shade in particular is my favorite. I do have all of her lid lusters. And, but the formula for the scattered lights, I rank it higher than the Victoria Beckham because you do have less, you don't really have any fallout with this. It's a thin formula, it adheres well, it kind of stays there. And the Victoria Beckham, it's a creamier. So you have a little bit more risk of fallout with these particles. You can feel the particles, whereas the Hourglass, you can't feel the particles. And when you are building this up, there's just a little bit more risk for fallout with that and for creasing, depending on how you apply that. Whereas with the Hourglass, because it's so thin, even to get an opaque look on your lid, you're really going to have a very thin layer that is just less likely to crease throughout the day. Next, I would go with the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Colors. I really love these. I wear them a lot during the summer. I think they are a great formula, but they're just, let's see. And next I would go with Next, I would go with the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Colors. These are great. I really love them. They're a great everyday summer basic for me, and I really enjoy those and the color selection. I don't think they're adding any more to the line. Hopefully they will, but it's been a while since they've come out with new shades in that. And then I would go with the Supergoop. And I love the formula of the Supergoop. I love that it has the SPF protection in there. But I ranked this one lower just because I'm not really super thrilled with the shades. So as I mentioned, I'm not interested in the other shades they have. And the first light shade itself, I thought it was going to be more of like an oyster cream kind of shade, whereas it's really a lot more gold, more yellow than I wanted. So this gets knocked down just because the colors aren't really, ideal for me. But I love the formula of that one. And then last on my list then are the Westman Atelier iPods. I don't like the formula. So there's that. And I hope this was helpful. As I mentioned, the Surratt and the Jones Road, I both love those products, but I just don't really consider them in this particular category. And I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything. So I hope this was helpful, and I'd love to know what your favorite products are and if there are any other cream eyeshadows that you would recommend that I do not have included here on this list. I'd love to know. I'm always looking for new things to try as well. And thank you so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'll see you very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.